Very good morning, one and all. Mr. Manjunath HA, presently working with Philips as a manager in DevOps. With an experience of 15 years in IT industries, he has driven initiatives in DevOps, project management, program and service delivery management, relationship management across wide range of distributed technologies. Majorly on configuration and release management process with strong process discipline, complemented with the as a more than 9 years of extensive experience in software development lifecycle, SDLC, and project management methodologies. He has good knowledge on Agile, Scrum methodologies, build, release, and change management process, worked on continuous integration, continuous delivery model, an enthusiastic and self-disciplined individual seeking an opportunity to play a challenging and creative role in the field of internet technologies. His skills and specialties are in agile project management, people management, build, release and configuration management, process management, release engineering, capacity planning, continuous integration, and continuous delivery. It's a pleasure to have you among us, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Sushma. Here are few instructions to be followed by the participants. If you have any queries, please post the query in the chat window. E-certificate will be issued only after filling the feedback form at the end of the session. It's time to enhance our knowledge by being a part of this webinar. Over to Mr. Manjunath. Expectations from the participants, like what is DevOps? Introduction to DevOps, its uses, and how the company are making use of it, why we need a DevOps, what are the requirements to become a develop engineer, features of DevOps, DevOps in change management, and what are the tools used in it, what are the knowledge that the industry are expecting from DevOps engineer, importance of DevOps in today's scenario, why DevOps important over other technology, is DevOps is a technology. So these are the expectations we have received from the participants. So for all your questions, our resource person is going to give more information about the DevOps. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for the input. So yeah, so I have prepared the slides, including all your questions, which is you are trying to understand from this session. So I'm going to cover basically what is DevOps, what is the importance of DevOps, what is the terminology it is used and why it is used and when it is started. Also, what is the usage of DevOps in the industry, so that we can understand importance of DevOps and roles which one can play in the DevOps as technical person, as a release manager person. So I'm going to cover all these things. Apart from that, I'm going to cover the tool stack, which is requested, is one of the expectation from this session. And I'm going to explain the Microsoft Azure toolsets, which is comes with a complete package of integration of the tools, which will benefit ultimately the industry. Okay, so this is the agenda of the day. What is DevOps? Definitely everyone curious to know what is DevOps. So I'll go to explain that, and history of DevOps, when it is started and why it is started is more important. Just to brief in 2-3 minutes. And DevOps come from where it is coming from. So that is also more important. And DevOps phases. In DevOps, what are the phases we are going to see? So that I'm going to cover. Advantage of DevOps. What is the advantage the industry is getting using the DevOps? And second thing is about the DevOps roles. Roles is more important in DevOps because people are working, but it should be arranged manner, and also coordination between the ops and dev is more important. That is where the roles is coming. And what are the core concept of DevOps? There are only three core concepts which is highlighted in the industry. That is more important. And DevOps tools and Azure DevOps tool sets. I'm going to give the detail about how the Azure DevOps is organized. Okay, let's start. What is DevOps? So definition of DevOps, if you go and Google it, it is very easy to know. DevOps is a terminology. It is a methodology. It is called a method to implement the software with all the monitoring system in place, and continuously we can deliver the product to the end customer in a more faster way. So that's a methodology. In one line, if you say, it's a methodology. So it is not a tool. It is not a software. It is not anything else you can imagine. It is a methodology which is adopted in the industry to make the release quicker and faster using the software. Okay. So next is, what is the history of DevOps? So DevOps is the word which started in 2007 by Patrick. Patrick is a well-experienced person who worked on a network, system administration, as a tester, as a project manager, and as a developer. So for him, a task is given to migrate the data center from one place to another. So he has understood how difficult it is to work with the development team as well as operation team to do this completion, this task. So he was trying to figure out how can we eliminate the bottlenecks of whatever the issues he faced while doing the migration of it. So he was thinking on those lines, and then in 2008, Andrew was presented a birds of feather session in 2008 in Agile conference. Agile conference is the conference which will happen every year. So there will be a experts who comes and speak on that. So Andrew is also thinking on the same line, like how can we eliminate the waste of the coordination between the dev and ops and all these critical phases of taking the application into the production in a smoother way. So these two things came, and also Patrick is more curious and he wants to execute more things. In 2009, John, a senior vice president of technical operation at Flickr, so he discussed with his directors and he made a proof of concept. And in his project, he came and he told the industry that 10 plus deploys, 10 plus deployment can happen in a day. So in previous way of working, how we are implementing the software development, it was very difficult to take the application from the development till the deployment. It will take a lot of time. So, but when John came and presented that he can deploy the complete package, whatever the developer is developed in a 10 deployment in a day, 10 times he can do the deployment to the production, then everybody start focusing on the DevOps. So it started seeing the results in 2009, and 10, 11, 12 is it evolved, and 14 is the where 2014 where all the industry want to get into the DevOps. Okay, so what is DevOps? Again, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please let me know if you're not able to hear so that I can see
Yes,
if
sir.
any technical glitches are there. Now it is audible. Okay. So you want me to repeat the first two slides? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
No, sir.
So I was presenting on the second slide the history of DevOps. So now going to the next slide, where did DevOps come from? When we are working on the software industry, we follow the software development life cycle. So previously we used to follow the waterfall model. Waterfall model is basically a person will go to the client place and understand his requirement. Take an example of the website development. They will understand what is the requirement of the website development, what content should be there, what icon should be there, and what has to place where, what is the registration process, and how it should interact with the user, all these things they will capture it one shot and will deliver it within the time of 6 months or 1 year. So this is called a waterfall model. As you guys know, waterfall model works in a one-time requirement collection and deliver at the end. So there is no interaction between the user or requirement owners and the development team. So this is how it used to work. That is the reason industry was delivering every 6 months or every 1 year one kind of component, one version of the component, which is taking a lot of time. Take an example of Nokia. If you are more familiar with the phones, take an example of Nokia with Samsung and also Apple. When Nokia was leading the industry, they used to deliver the good products and good features, but it was taking a lot of time. In between, Samsung and Apple came with the rapid technology, rapid development technology. They used to deliver every new features in every 1 month. Well, Nokia is taking 6 months. So industry is running in the speed of light. So that is how the technology is going. So what was happening in the SDLC process in a waterfall model? Once we collect the requirement, by the time of delivery, there are a lot of changes happening in the industry. Whatever the requirement given by the client, it was not valid when that is supposed to deliver. So that is why everyone was worried about it. Everyone was, feeling about competition is not. It is good, but we are not in the industry and with that phase. So that is where the agile methodology came into picture. So now agile and DevOps go hand in hand. What is agile methodology? Agile methodology is a requirement is given for execution to the developer for 3 weeks. So 3 weeks we call it as a sprint. A sprint will be led by the Scrum Master. A Scrum Master will know what is the input, what is the output, and who has to own what, and what is the dependencies. So Agile itself is a different topic altogether, but I'll be covering here with a very high level. So Agile methodology works in a rapid way. Every 3 weeks, there will be a feature which is developed and delivered to the client. Before the Agile development starts, we will gather the requirement from the client or the product owner, and we will understand what needs to be developed. If we have any questions by the development team as a developer, they will go and ask and they will clarify and they will start working on it. So the Scrum Master will come into picture. They will track what is working, what is happening, and what is the dependency with other team. And also, is there any bottleneck or any glitches in between so that he can come and he can help. So this is how the Agile team works. Agile team consisting of 8 to 10 people max and one Scrum Master. And that team is dedicatedly focusing on specific features. One person will having at least 1 or 2 features to complete within the 3 weeks of time. In that 3 weeks of time, he has to deliver it. He has to demo to the product owner and that should be out. And that will go into production. So in short, if you go with the Facebook, if you go with the Google, or if you go with any websites, which is having a social interaction, like Facebook is a very good example, where every new day, every morning, you'll get a new feature in the Facebook. So how it is happening? That is going to happen with the help of DevOps technology, DevOps tools. Without that, if the development team is done with the development, if you're not able to compile, deploy, and get into the production, then that is no use. That is what happened with the Nokia. They have developed many softwares, which is very good compared to Samsung and Apple, but they're not able to release it very quickly. So releasing is more important. Delivering to the customer is more important. So that is how the DevOps is taking a lot of interest in the industry so that they can deliver whatever they develop, they should deliver within lesser time. So this is how about the Agile, okay? I will cover it Agile probably in the going sessions, but this is very high level of Agile methodology of implementation. So DevOps come from the Agile methodology. So Agile methodology developer is developing very quickly, but they should deploy very quickly as well. So that is where the DevOps come into picture. Okay, if you can see this slide, there are different phases in the DevOps. One is planning. If you see the cycle here, let's start from the planning. Just now I explained planning will be done before the sprint start. Sprint is a 3-week time. The planning will be taken place before 1 day of the sprint starts, and they will create the task in the TFS. TFS is a Microsoft tool. Okay, And again, Git is another source control. I will going to cover in the next slides. Okay, they will going to create these kind of stories. Take an example of story is nothing but, okay, if I simplify you to understand, creating a website is one project if you take it. Then logging in is the one module. Validating the username and password is the one task or one story. Okay, and validating that into a database is another story. And next is authenticating those things with the SMS is another story or another task they can call it. These things has to be divided. Whatever the planning is done, that will be divided into 3 or 4 different steps so that we can easily achieve it. So that is the creation phase. Then it will going to be verified by the product owner. Product owner is the person who owns the product. He will give the requirement how he has to see the product once it is developed. So he will understand and he will identify any gaps are there in the verification phase. So once planning is done and tasks are getting created in the source control or in the planning session, then it will be verified by the product owner. Then it will go for a development activity. So development activity will be done by the developers and it will be tested by the testers. Then the DevOps will come into picture. Once we are able to write a code in the C# or in a .NET or in Java, that will be stored in a central repository and we can store it in a Git or it's in a TFS. That will be taken by the DevOps team. They will take the complete latest of whatever the developer is developed and they will do the compilation. Compilation is nothing but converting all your code, whatever you are written, that will be converted into a binaries, a DLL, REXE, or MSI. So this is ultimately called compilation phase and packaging phase. So the packaging phase is the next phase in the cycle. So once the packaging is done, that will be installed on the production machines or development machines or testing machines. Generally what happens once the package is created, that will be deployed into the testing machines for end-to-end testing by the verification team. So the verification team will have a complete requirement from the product owner and he will validate across the software bugs, security bugs, and also if you consider about the button is not working properly, the button is not in a right, the user appearance, and all these things they will go to validate. Once they give a seal and authentication to release it to the production, then it will go to the production environment. That is where you see the Facebook is coming. Every day, the new feature, whatever you see, just will pass all these steps. Without missing any steps, that will be followed automatically. That is where they're able to release very quickly. So once it is released, are we done? No. Once we release, then we have to see how the configuration is working in the production. Is there anything which we have to do? What will happen if Facebook users are getting increased in 10 minutes, there's a 10 lakh users. So whether my hardware is supporting or not, whether performance is up to the mark, whether everyone is able to see the screen, they are able to chat, they're able to send the message, photos, or whatever it is. So we need to monitor it. If he is host the application in the production, if it is not able to use by the end user, then that is not useful for anyone, right? So that is where the configuration will come into picture. Immediately, if you want to increase the number of servers to support more users, that is where our configuration team will come and enhance their system capabilities to address more people, serving more people here. So next will come into the monitoring section. See, sometimes you might have felt, you're sending a message, but it is not going. Sometimes you feel, you are uploading the picture, it is not uploaded properly. Sometimes you are not getting the messages. So the monitoring team sitting behind the scene, they will be monitoring it, why it is happening, what is the issue it is coming. Every application will write the log internally, and that log will be read by the monitoring team, and that will be reported back to the developers, L1, L2, L3 support team, so that they can address the issue very quickly. So this is what a simple diagram looks, but there is a big task going behind the scenes. Okay, now coming to the DevOps core concepts, a continuous integration, delivery, and deployment is the 3 main things which will focus on the DevOps core concepts. So what is continuous integration? Okay, continuous integration is basically whenever a feature is developed. I was taking an example of creating a website. When you create a website, you're going to test it as a developer. You'll give the username, password, and you'll say sign in, right? So at the sign in button, there will be a lot of things happening at the backend. It will go and read, it will validate with the database whether the user is present or not. If it is present, he will authenticate to enter into the web page. Otherwise, he will push back and say that there is no user available. You can sign up. So this is happening at the backend. So every time when there is a feature which is developed, one is we can say a login page development. So that login page development, if you want to see, then you have to do a continuous integration. Integration is basically whatever the features are getting developed, that should be integrated with the existing code. That is called continuous integration. So this should happen every check-in. Every person in the sprint, if you take an example of 10 people are there in the sprint, every person is developing one feature. If they are checking in to the TFS or a gate, then that should get compiled, that should get converted into binaries so that we can deliver it into the production environment. So that is called continuous integration. Continuous delivery is basically once the integration is happening, we will get the output of a binaries. Binaries is basically a DLLs or MSI or EXEs. So those things should be delivered. Delivered to where? Delivered to internally first for validation. For a testing team, we have to deliver it. So testing team will go to test everything. Then if they give a sign off, then deployment will go to take place. That is the third point here. So every time, whenever there is a feature developed, that will be integrated, that will be tested, and that will be deployed. So this is how the DevOps works. So every check-in will go to the production is the ultimate goal of DevOps. So whatever I explained, the benefits, I'm just capturing here the DevOps advantages. It is a better collaboration between the development and operation team. So previously in the waterfall model, what used to happen is developer will be working on his own phase. There is no deadlines. There is no, even though deadline is there, there will be a lack of meeting the deadlines. People are more comfortable in the waterfall model because the requirement was huge.
Same three channel,
It
red,
is
green,
not
blue,
just like
RGB image,
creating a one
and the
username and
format is
password and
now
validate
changed,
at the
right?
login page.
This is
No, that is not
PNG
given.
format now. The
They
file
given
format is
the complete
PNG.
requirement to complete it in 6 months. So
Well,
that was not
here
working properly. So the collaboration between the development team and operation team. Operation team is basically the team who take care of getting the code and compiling, packaging it and deploying it. Also, they are responsible for maintaining the hardware. Hardware is basically, that is the main important thing in the DevOps hardware. Without better hardware, we can't deploy the code. So the operation team basically works on monitoring the applications, the hardware maintenance, and also monitoring the logs and capturing the logs, events, and then passing to the development team. So development team will initially understand what is the challenge they are facing it, then they will go to help the operation team. So there was a gap between development and operation. So now the DevOps is to bridge the gap between development team and operation team by collaborating between these two teams. Okay. So next is improving the quality of the product. So whenever there is a continuous integration happens, we are integrating the tool to validate whether the quality of the product is met or not. There are tools available. I can explain in the coming slides, where automatically the compilation, once it is happened, the tool will go to validate whether the code quality is met, code coverage is met or not. If it is not going to met, we are not delivering that into production. It is simple as you are getting a new mobile. If the mobile is having a defect, nobody likes it because you are paying for it. So before giving a mobile to a customer hand, then we need to modify, we need to see, we need to alter the changes inside the mobile application and see how it works, how it behaves. So that is how we are going to check the quality, not only about the performance of the machine, but also about the application. Take an example of in your mobile, if you're going to click on call someone. If the call is going but call is not reaching, it is not going, there is a network issue, then that is a hardware application issue. If it comes to you are clicking on the WhatsApp, if WhatsApp is not launching, that is called software issue. So this is how that will going to be verified and tested. So how the DevOps is giving advantage here is there is completely automated pipeline. I'm going to explain in the coming slide how pipeline is designed. Okay. So in that pipeline, automatically the code will be checking, that will be compiled, and it will be tested for quality. So the second one is the quality test, which I'm talking about, and third one is reduce the cost of design, development, and operation. So since everything is automated at the back end, so nobody has to spend more time on understanding what is happening at the back end. They just have to go and see the dashboards or logs and understand what is the problem, and they can fix immediately. So this is how the industry is saving the cost. Previously, in the waterfall model, they used to sit, the whole team has to sit all night and understand the problems. Now that is not required. That is completely a log and dashboard will give the complete picture where it is failing. So next, coming into the reduced time to market. This is the very important feature of DevOps, advantage of DevOps. If industry is wanted to adopt a DevOps technology, they are taking a lot of time to go to market. To overcome that problem, one should adopt DevOps in their company. So reducing time to market is, as I explained, the agile methodology, how it was designed, that is helping the company to deliver faster with the help of DevOps. And profit increase when you are able to release many things. Take an example. I give an example of Facebook. Forget about the Facebook now. If you go to the any financial product, if you go to the any healthcare product, if client want a COVID-19 verification has to be done with no manual intervention, no person, no doctor is needed for that. And one company has developed a product in that. If they're able to deliver very quickly, then they will increase the profit. The sale will go to increase. That is how the profit increase will happen. The last one is on more frequent releases. More frequent releases is directly related to the reduce the time to market. Whenever there is a feature which is ready to ship to the production, then we are able to release it. So these are all the advantages of DevOps. And what are the roles available in the DevOps? There's one of the question which is asked. There is a DevOps evangelist role, which is having in Microsoft, a release manager role, automation architect role, software developer role, security engineer role, also utility technology players. So there are a lot of opportunity in the DevOps. If you put a DevOps as a keyword in your resume will be shortlisting at first. The reason because industry wants a DevOps people. If somebody knows DevOps, tools of DevOps, and how it operates, and what is the process they follow in the industry, then if you able to explain it, then definitely you will be able to place it in one of the companies. So these are all the roles available inside the organization, for any organization for that matter. Okay, coming into the tools. So there are a couple of tools which I listed here, but DevOps is evolved from 2014 to 2020 very rapidly. There are a lot of tools available. It is difficult to cover all the tools, but at the high level, I'm covering few tools which are open source. Git is an open source. Git is basically a source control tool where all the developer, if a Scrum team is having 10 people who are working as a developer, so that should be stored in one place. They can't store it on their desktop or their machines. So Git is a centralized repository where all the code will go and sit there. And whenever we want to use a code to deploy in the production environment, we will take it from the Git. And it is no need to monitor, no need to wait for someone to check in or someone to say I'm done with the code. Okay. So this is the Git is one of the repository, and next is the Docker. Docker is the containers. So this is a little advanced concept. I hope you can Google it and you can get more information on this. But Docker is actually a very good technology where we can host the application in a very lesser time. Selenium is a testing tool for web-based applications. For anything which you want to test, you don't need to sit in front of it. You just have to write a Selenium script. Take an example of login screen, which I'm giving it from the beginning. If you want to see whether my login screen is working or not, as a tester, you can write a script in Selenium. You can populate username and password automatically using the script, and it will go to validate and give the results, whether test is passed or test is failed. So that's how the Selenium works. And Maven is actually a product structure building tabs that contains the XML things. It also going to cover the product dependencies. Product dependencies, if the one module, if the login module is dependent on any other module, we can mention it in a Maven. So Maven will go into check whether login is successful or not. Then it will go to launch the other modules internally. So module dependencies will be easily captured in the map. Okay, so you can Google it and get the more information, because these are all the big topics if you want to understand from the detailed point of view. But any question on the any specific tool, please get in touch me offline. I can explain it. And Junkin is the orchestration tool which is widely used, which is the open source. Junkin will going to integrate many 670 tools, more than 670 plugins are available inside the Jenkins. Like if you want to integrate the Jenkins with the Git, Jenkins with the Maven, Jenkins with the Selenium, Jenkins with the Docker, you're able to do it. You don't have to think much or write code from the scratch. There are plugins which is already available. You just have to understand how the plugin works and call these integration tools, and that will go to help for you. Okay. When I was talking about in the cycle of DevOps, there is a monitoring section. Okay, so you might be having a question of how the log monitoring will happen, how the monitoring will take place. If you have a servers production, there will be 100 servers will be deployed. How can I go into 100 servers and check test that, right? So Nagios is the tool which is the open source again, which is available and which is helping in the Nagios monitoring of logs. So if you have 100 system hosted in the production, which is serving to the customers, if you want to see all 100 logs, Nagios will pull all the logs and it will give the details of one. Nagios will also monitor whether system is up and running. Nagios will also monitor whether it is able to reach the network is enabled or not. It will able to reach the other system or not. So Nagios is a tool which is open source tool which is used in many industries, in many of the companies for monitoring hardware, also networking, also system health, also on the disk space. If it is running out of disk space, then it will give an alert. Oh, okay, my disk space is low. I have to increase it. So proactively, I can upgrade the disk space. So Nagios is the one big tool which is very helpful in the DevOps technology. So next is Ansible and Puppet and also Chef. All three things will do the same thing, but it will be adopted based on the project requirement and also environment. When I come to the environment, there will be two types of environment. One is Windows platform, another one is Java platform. If you want to go with the Java platform, Ansible is a recommended tool. If you want to play with Microsoft tools and technology, then Chef or Puppet will go into suit better. So this is how the tools category will be happening. So that is again the tools. There are a lot of tools. There is one more slide on the tool which I try to capture it. So these are all the DevOps tool. And I was talking about integration, right? So you will be wondering what integration I'm talking about. If you take the step-by-step approach here, one is planning, coding, then building, then testing. There are tools which is related to those things. You can relate, or you can create your imagination, like what are the tools related to testing, what are the tools related to planning, and what are the tools for building. And when we come to the deploy, operate, and monitor, so there are tools which is related to that. So Jenkins is coming in between. Jenkins is an integrator. Jenkins is an orchestrator. So once you're able to host the Jenkins, you are able to get all this planning, coding, building, testing, and also deploy, operate, and monitor everything in Jenkins dashboard. So using Jenkins, you are able to monitor everything. So that is called integrator or orchestrator. I hope you are trying to relate what I told, what I'm explaining now. So if you have any other question, please post me in the chat window. Can you please help me to understand? Are you able to see the slides, or any challenges seeing the slides? You can say DevOps, but tools are the most important things to capture, and also which is helping us to take the application into the production in a quicker manner. Okay. So I'm going to present Azure DevOps, which was published in the Microsoft. So I will try to relate all these things, how it is related in one tool. Azure DevOps is actually a technology which is recently hosted and that is in a cloud, and how the Microsoft designed of capturing the requirement, issue tracking, monitoring, and everything. Okay, just give me a second. I will share the other slide. If you have any questions, please post in the chat board. So what happens is DevOps is a continuous evolving methodology. So Microsoft is working closely on improving their tools and technologies to adopt the DevOps way of implementation. So if you see here, there is a develop icons, and it will come to the operate and delivery. So in between there is a DevOps. So DevOps stands in the middle of a developer, delivery, and operation. So how can we make a quicker delivery to the production, a quicker delivery to the customers? So Microsoft has come up with Azure DevOps. They call it as Azure DevOps. Their solution is looks like this. Okay, when it comes to the develop, they have given a GitHub and they have given a Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. So these are all the three tools which Microsoft is providing in one suite. So we don't have to go and integrate many tools. As I was explaining in the previous slide, there was a Jenkins. Okay, sorry, there was some glitches in the slide sharing. Okay, hope you are able to see the screen. So Microsoft Azure is providing a set of tools internally, into Azure DevOps. So Microsoft Azure DevOps is a cloud-based solution. Cloud is another concept which is related to DevOps, and it is a huge topic, so it is very difficult to cover it here. But cloud is the platform where we can host our application without buying any physical servers in our environment, and also we can make sure using the cloud, we can say it is up and running 24/7 and 365 days. 100% uptime is assured in the cloud, and everything is like taken care by the cloud hoster. We have a Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud, and also there are many cloud providers coming these days, and this is very popular. And cloud is one of the technology within DevOps. If anyone is interested in the hardware side, they can plan and pursuing their career in the cloud infrastructure. Okay, so I was explaining about what is there in Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps contains a tools which is required for developing and deploying applications. Okay, so GitHub is the source control which I was explaining for developers. And for the delivery, we have a Azure Board, Azure Reports, Azure Pipeline, Azure Artifacts, Azure Test Plan, and Azure Lab Services. So I'm going to explain at the high level in the coming slides. And when you come to the monitoring, they are giving a Azure Monitoring Service, Azure Policies, Azure Automation, and Security. So all these things is required for the DevOps technologies to implement. Okay. So coming into the delivery with Azure DevOps, as I was explaining, Azure Boards. I'll give you some screenshots here. What is Azure Board? So this is called Azure Boards. So basically Azure Board is a Scrum team will follow these boards. If we have a story to create a username or password validation, that will be created as a task in the board, and that will be monitored, and that will be captured the requirement. What is the requirement and what is the output? What is the acceptance criteria is captured in the dashboard. That is called Azure Boards. In Azure Boards, the all 10 people, if you are working, all 10 people requirement is captured and monitored, and it is tracked. So this is, I just collected these slides to give you a picturization, a graphical representation how it looks. Okay, when it comes to the Azure repos, it is basically a repo which people are working. Repo means if one person is working on a login model, one person is working on an administration model, one person is working on a payroll model. So that will be repos. Repos is basically a brand which is created out of a source control, whether it is a Git, whether it is a TFS. So all these repos are listed in the one centralized repository, and this is how it looks when we go to the Azure repos. So next comes on the Azure pipeline. Azure pipeline is basically a pipeline which is related to a DevOps, which is responsible for showing where exactly the control is. If the control is trying to compile the code, whether it is trying to deploy the code, or whether it is trying to run the test, something like that. So every stage it will give the updates where exactly and what is happening. So this is how the Azure pipeline looks. Next it comes in Azure Artifact. The Azure Artifacts, basically what happens is when we are talking about the artifacts, take an example of if you are developing some software, you might need any third-party software integration, third-party DLL integration. So where I can store those things. So that is comes in the industry as artifacts. Okay, artifacts is basically a component which is required to run the application or run the complete package, complete source. So we have to store somewhere. So that is where Microsoft is giving artifact storage place that is called Artifactory. Next is on the testing. So this is how the testing dashboard looks. What are the new defects which is raised, and how the statistics looks, whether it is ready for release, any critical issues are there, defects are there, and what is the track, when we are going to complete it. So all these things will be captured in the dashboard. So this is what I'm calling as a dashboard. Okay, you don't need to do manual things now. Everything is automated. We need to learn how to automate the things. That is most important skill which is required for the DevOps engineer. Okay. A slight information about the GitHub. Okay. Azure repos. Yeah, there is a question. Explain me about Azure repos. Yeah. So repo is basically, if you take an example of Git, okay, or TFS, when we are trying to develop a software, the software is divided into different pieces, different modules, a small pieces which can be achieved in 3 weeks of time. Okay. So in that case, a different pipeline, a different branch will be given to that person to develop that feature and check in back to the repository. Repo is basically a repository. A repository is a centralized location where all the codes comes and sits. If 10 people working in the Scrum team, all 10 people code should be available in one single repo, single centralized repository. That is called a repository, and here Azure repository. Azure repository sits in the cloud. It will be available in the cloud. It is not available in premises or in any desktop in any of the machines in the company. Okay, that will be stored in the cloud, somewhere in the cloud. So nobody knows where is the location is, but we know only IP address and how to access it. And that will be maintained, and it will be 100% uptime will be assured by the cloud hoster. So I hope you understand, you got the point. If there are 10 different features need to be developed, so 10 different people are working in the 10 different repos, and that will be available in a centralized repository. So that is called Azure repo. Okay, so Git is actually a open source, and you can see since it is an open source community, how many contributions are coming. It's 1.1 billion in 2008. 1.1 billion contribution has given. It is not about the money, but it is about the interest of the people who develop the plugins for the Git, and they will post it, and that will be used by the companies. And the developers is 33 million developers are working on the GitHub, and repos 100 million repos are there, and most secure one in 2008, 5 million. There are 5 million unavailability alerts are 2018, which is actually more secure, because in open source community, whenever we release a new tool, there will be hackers who try to hack it and try to get the codes. But it is much more secure than any other open source. So there are companies who are already using GitHub as open source. You can see the icons here. Ansible is using, Kubernetes is using, and there are many companies who uses Git as an open source tool for their repository storage. Okay, so I'll skip this slide. I wanted to cover one more thing here. Okay, so reactive operations, you see, I was explaining about the development, delivery, and operations, right? So this is how the road looks. And in between, in operation, there will be a governance. Governance is basically to understand whether all the features which is ready for or production is tested, is validated or not. So that is one of the governance. Which one example which randomly I took. Second is about the security. So there will be a penetration test. There will be a security test which will take place once it is ready for delivery, and there will be monitoring on each stage, when the testing environment, on the production environment, to see whether something is failing or not. Uh, how the failure happens is, failure is not expected in the development environment, because developer knows it will not going to fail. He will make sure thing should not fail. But once we deploy into the production, there will be a lot of influencing factors, environment, network issues. There will be software issues. software versioning problems. There are many things which comes. So that is where we need a monitoring system out of developer environment. So monitoring is most important thing. And last one is about automation. Automation is important. If you want to automate everything, if you want to do it all these things manually, then it will take a lot of time. But automation, once you do it, you have to use it multiple times. So that is where automation coming into picture, and one should be able to automate regularly doing activities. Every morning, if somebody come to office, if they are doing the same thing, checking the logs and checking the servers, then it's a waste of time and it's a waste of loss for the company. So how to automate that is most important thing. So automation is the key. So one should write a script to automate, get the logs and read the logs, or integrate the tools and see whether he can get an alert in a mobile or get the alerts in the email. So that will going to minimize the manual effort of the person. Also, it will give the benefit to the company and we can deliver faster. So these are all the some terminologies, which is also governance, security, resilience, monitoring, and automation. So this is what the industry is following, and in Azure especially, they are focusing on all these things. So I was explaining about operation type is a Chef, Ansible, ELK stacks, and Puppet. And also in the delivery point, if you come, then you can see here Jenkins, Maven, Packer, and all these tools. So Azure is trying to leverage on these tools, but it is open for the individual and the company and the project to select what tool they want to integrate to take the application to the production. It is not a hard and fast tool, but we can comfortably take what we are suggesting to the companies, like what is best for that project. So this is how it works in the industry. So these are all the things which Azure is trying to explain. See, basically Azure is a cloud platform and it is trying to get all the requirement to deal deployment. It will try to capture all these things in Azure finally. So Microsoft is trying to capture everything, and you want to make sure people should not go out to buy new tools. That is the whole point of selling the Microsoft Azure to the any company. So I just wanted to give a complete at a high level of what is Microsoft Azure and what how it looks with a screenshot and other things. So this is again a big topic to discuss, and CI/CD is the CI. Generally, CI/CD means a continuous integration, continuous deployment terminology used in the DevOps. Okay, so these are all the points which I want to cover it, and I think I'm almost end of the slide. And these are all the companies which using the DevOps. Shell, Accenture. Accenture is actually a service-based company, and they are using the Microsoft Azure, and it based on the clients, so they are going to give the solution. If it is a Java-based, then they will suggest the open source tool. If they're Microsoft-based clients, then they will suggest Azure. So by this, I think I'm done with the session. If you have any questions, I hope I answered many of your questions, but if you have anything, please let.
I request the participants, if you have any queries, please put it in the chat window.
Okay, one question from Ashwini Prasad. What are critical DevOps tool chain integration points in relation to increase software release velocity?
Okay, so as I was explaining, there is no hard and fast rule on selecting the tools. Tools there are open source tools, there are licensed tools. It is a company who has to decide a tool stack. If you go with a product, the company always suggests to go with a licensed tool because there will be dedicated support which is available. If you go with a open source tool, open source development.
One more question from Shobha. Which is more suitable for suitable in
Jenkins is the orchestration tool which is widely used. It is having a 700.
Next question from Suman Sharma. Which is better, GitHub or Microsoft Azure?
Microsoft is adopted the Git because it was open source. Microsoft was using the Team Foundation server initially when they hosted. Okay, and now they are also integrated the Git. So Microsoft comes with the Git. So if anyone who purchased the Microsoft, they are able to use the Git as well. It is a Git.
Hmm?
It is a Git. Can you take one join?
Ah, join now.
Yeah, so I was explaining about Microsoft. So Microsoft is also having a Git internal inbuilt. Recently, Azure is comes with the Git. So if somebody is already paid, some company is already paid,
Right?
and definitely
And
they
definitely they
can
can use
leverage on the
leverage
Git,
on the gate,
also on the
also on the
trading
trading
audition server
audition
if they
server.
want.
Next question from Krishna, TGB. Could you explain a little deeper about Docker?
Okay,
Okay,
Docker
Docker
is a
is a
different
different
session
session
altogether.
altogether.
So
So
Docker
Docker
comes.
comes.
Docker is
Docker is
a
a
container.
container.
Okay,
Okay,
well, a
a
container
container
you can imagine a
sheet of
simple
the
container.
container. How
How
the
the container looks.
looks.
If
If
we
we
want
want
to
to
host
host
any
any
application,
application,
a
a
testing
testing
server,
server,
then
then
we might have to leverage on the hardware, right? So
so
one
one
system you
system
have
you
to
have to
bring
bring
it
it
and you
and you
have
have
to
to
deploy
deploy
it
it
and you
and
have
you
to
have to
test it.
test it.
What if
What
you
if
want
you
to
want
do
to
it
do it
on the
on the
fly
fly
and
and
use it
use it
and
and
just
just
come out of
come?
it? So
So
the
the
Docker
Docker
will
will
help
help
you
you
to
to
host
host
the
the
application
application
within the
within the
fraction of
fraction of
seconds.
seconds.
It will
It will
create a
create a
machine
machine
with the
with the
host
host
machine
machine
resources.
resources.
Then it will
Then it will
deploy
deploy
your
your
application.
application.
Then it
Then
will
it will
test.
test.
It
It
will
will
give the
give the
result
result
back
back
to
to
you.
you.
Then it will
Then it will
shut down.
shut
It will
down. It will
destroy.
destroy.
It is
It
a
is a
temporary
temporary
instance
instance
which we
which we
can
can
leverage
leverage
on for
for
immediate
immediate
requirements
requirements
and
and
also
also
for the
for the
hosting of
hosting
the
of the
production
production
environment.
environment.
So
So
this
this
topic is
topic is
huge,
huge,
but
but
you can
you can
connect
connect
me
me
if you're
if you're
interested
interested
offline.
offline.
I can give the some more
More
details on
details on
it.
it.
Okay, next question from Yellama. Any free certification courses on DevOps?
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure
sure
about
about
that, but
that,
I can
but I
get
can
back to
get
you
back
on
to
this.
this.
Also,
Also,
if you
if you
guys
guys
are
are
interested
interested
on the
in
DevOps
DevOps
courses you
courses, you
want
want
to
to
pursue it, please get in touch with me. We can have a session offline, and we can train you on the
train
specific tools
tools
and
and
also
also
the
the
process and
process
how
and
the
how the
industry
industry
works.
works.
Any questions from participants? Feedback link has been put in the chat box. Please fill that. After the session, we'll send the video.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
what I
what I
try to
try to
cover
cover
today
today
is
is
just
just
introduction
introduction
of
of
complete DevOps process,
process,
tools,
tools,
technologies,
technologies,
and
and
what
what
this
this
industry is
industry is.
using. So
So
anyone
anyone
is
is
interested on
interested
the
on the
detailed
detailed
session
session
of
of
it
it
or
or
needs
needs
any
any
training
training
online,
online,
then we're happy
happy
to
to
help
help
you.
you.
And
And
what
what
industry is
industry is
needed,
needed,
how
how
to
to
crack
crack
the
the
interview
interview,
for the DevOps, somebody want to get into
get
the
into the
DevOps, and
DevOps, and
also
also
if
if
somebody is interested in the hardware and
hardware and
networking and the
networking and
cloud
cloud
technologies and
technologies
how
and
to
how to
proceed with it. So can help you
you
guys
guys
to
to
to sort out your doubts and clarification also on the training. Also,
also
one
one
more
more
request:
request.
if participants are all our students, I
Students,
know that, and if anyone is interested to do on social
social
work
work,
or the charitable trust,
place,
then please get in touch with me. I'm running one charitable trust on education and
and
environment
environment
related
related.
things, activities. So there is the projects dedicatedly every year we try to do it. So if
If
anyone is
anyone is
interested to
interested
contribute on
on
your
your
area,
area,
because we are most
most
welcome. We will
welcome.
give the materials
Materials
and
and
the project
project
to
to
execute it on your areas. Any
any
questions?
questions?
my contact number. I can share it with you guys.
In few minutes, we'll send a feedback link.
Okay, I just shared the contact number that is for a WhatsApp. Please try to reach me on the WhatsApp on that number so that I can respond back to you. DevOps is one of the leading fields. So DevOps is very hot topic now. If you ask me the question, so definitely there will be a lot of things for DevOps, but industry is looking for experienced people. The freshers is always a challenge, even if you are B or tech or whatever field you are in. But freshers is always a challenge. But if you are at least try to do some courses and get some hands-on certification, then definitely there will be a possibility in the industry. So at least 6 months. At least 6 months to 1 year experience is needed to get into the industry for development as well as testing, also on the DevOps side. So anyone is interested, then we will try to sort it out how it can be achieved.
Which is not clear.
Can you able to hear me? Hello? Voice is clear? You able to audible? Sorry. Okay, okay. Yes, definitely. Definitely, we have a hackathon on the DevOps. There will be small features which can be implemented within a day. Hackathon is the best thing to learn new implementation, and definitely it can be done in 1 day, and it has to be decided by the participant what need to be done, and also the requirements, and if somebody can guide the team, what need to be developed and how it need to be developed, it can be done in a day. The hackathon is definitely possible.
Is there any questions from participants?
Hope there is no questions from the participants. Thank you, sir.
We can make a hackathon in Mysore, but let's get in touch offline so that we can discuss.
The feedback link has been shared. Kindly fill the feedback form. Thank you, sir, for sharing more information on DevOps. So we understood the DevOps tools, Azure DevOps, all those things. I express my sincere thanks to resource person, Mr. Manjunath, principal, and the participants for making this session a great success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you. Thanks for giving an opportunity to talk here. So it is really a good environment, and also I hope you have any queries, please get in touch with me. I hope you got some information from my side on the DevOps side. Thank you.